about some of the things you're talking about, the next generation, chemical discovery, there are certain industries that turn over very, very quickly. Semiconductor device manufacturing is a great example. They're having to constantly upgrade in order to continue to push the limits of what we can do with the semiconductors. Others, like metal foundries, will use the same equipment happily for 150 years. When you think about some of the developments that you were talking about in energy materials, in biosystems, in some of those healthcare systems, some of those will be more amenable to that retrofit. Some of them will be more reticent. What does that do from a cultural perspective to encourage that type of adoption and shift? How do you see that happen?
Yeah. What I would say is that when we're trying to actually build a model that is like, let's say, next generation, then you start saying, okay, I need to get my data from literature, I need to get my data from computation, and I need to get my data from experimentation. So when you actually are trying to do that, then oftentimes you get to this stage where you say existing workflows with existing equipment, the best can be done with them to automate them sometimes is to, have a robotic arm that can interact with the different equipment and do the experimentation. But even then, you start seeing that the volume of data that comes from that is not going to be sufficient to push your model to the next stage. So I would say there's a huge opportunity to actually come up with equipment and workflows that are next generation equipment designed for AI, which doesn't necessarily require the robotic arm to interact with equipment that was initially designed to interact with a human, right? So I would say that's kind of where some of my thinking has been in really reducing the cost of the parameter and what's the cost of an experiment. And to do that, I think one really should sometimes think about that, what is a greenfield ideal situation that one can start off with and see if there's the simplest way to get there. Because again, complexity is easy, but simplicity is difficult. So we need to just think about getting the right equipment built for the right problem that we're trying to do, and hopefully do it soon. Again, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, he's done lots of things that were been very, very difficult, and I think coming up with this sort of equipment that are designed for next generation AI are going to be very difficult things to do, that have all the right sensors and capability, but also can do the throughput.
Actually, if you want to hold on to the mic, the last question I want to ask everyone in the panel, where do you see the future? What do you see in the future, 4 to 5 years from now?
I'm a big fan of what's happening in Silicon Valley right now, and everyone thinks that if everything goes well, there's binary outcomes. One is everything goes well, and we're going to have utopia, and AI is going to enable a lot of amazing things happening. So I'm more of a believer that that's the thing. So 4 or 5 years, I think it's going to be huge advances in science, huge advances in medicine, and hopefully huge advances in manufacturing, this whole, what they call age of abundance. So we'll see.
I guess I'll speak for the opposite viewpoint, not to advocate for an age of austerity, but I think the AI will level off a bit. I think we'll learn how to integrate it into our systems. We'll start developing some very specific useful tools, but I also think a lot of the really stunning advances that we're seeing right now, it's my personal belief that a lot of technologies are exciting to hit a cusp where there's also very rapid innovation for a very short period of time as it becomes practically used, and more people are starting to discover the applications, but over time, that doesn't last. And I think the same thing will happen with AI. We're going to see a burst of innovation using it, but over time, we'll hit the limits of the technology. I don't think we're going to have actual, genuine, artificial intelligence from which it's an actually sentient being. I think It'll be used for very specific tools. People will start developing very specific AIs, and we're talking about its use in manufacturing, but I think over time it'll become like the internet or other big technological revolution. Things will level off and it just becomes part of our daily life. So like this, both more AI use, I guess, is my vision in the future. Not very inspiring, but also very probable.
Well, I'm in between. I do believe in utopia, but I also believe that this current technology that we're using, the current AI that we're using, are going to level off. And the new advances on AI, I'm following a few of them that is very promising. And we will have a better AI, a better technology to, and that's going to be a big leap forward.
I would say I'm a bit more on the pragmatic side. I think we all know Silicon Valley only creates utopias for themselves, not everybody else. So I see a lot of that happening. I think in reality, though, I mean, this goes back to choosing the right tool for the job. I think there's going to be AI technologies embedded in various things in ways that make sense, but I don't think that there's going to be some, huge birth of the universe moment, personally.
Question was 5 years. Stella and tossing shrimp shells over the side of my boat into the intercoastal waterway.
Enjoying that.
That's my answer, and I hope you guys do great with that.